A lot of the people that I learn from and listen to and get coaching from and stuff, they're very highly motivated. Most of them are incredibly successful in their own right, not just financially, but in other aspects of life. When you look at them, they're just very high energy and driven people, and it's interesting because a lot of these people, billionaires, people worth hundreds of millions of dollars, they struggled in their younger days with addiction problems. And I want to be careful how I kind of phrase this. I think when someone's dealing with addiction problems, they just naturally have a tendency towards being or having an addictive personality. So I think what happens is sometimes people get addicted to the wrong things. If you look at people like Grant Cardone or Dan Martell, they talk openly and publicly how in their younger days they were addicted to drugs, they got into bad situations, they put their energy in the wrong places, and when they got a little bit older they realized what they were doing, and they switched that addiction to uh, building businesses. I look back in my past and all the people that I've helped coach over the years with different businesses, helping them increase their sales or whatever it is that I'm working with them for coaching. The people that seem to be the most driven, they're also addicted to the processes and they're also addicted to their business, and they just naturally have this tendency to wake up in the morning and be motivated, just really have that focus and that drive. And I think a lot of people get into business and they don't really have that addiction to it. It's a way to create a living for them. It's a way to do their own thing, make their own rules. But there's a big difference when you look at people that have that motivation and that drive and the people that push hard every single day from the time they wake up till the time they go to bed, setting aside family time and things for enjoyment and all that. But the people that are just truly motivated, you could pick them out of a crowd. They're hustling every day. They're working to better themselves, their business. They're working to provide a better life for their family, for their employees' family. They have a motivation that a lot of business owners don't have, and that's something that can't necessarily be taught. I think that's something that has to be just ingrained in you from a young age. That doesn't mean you can't be successful doing what you're doing, but I think it does make it a little bit easier when you have that natural tendency to become addicted to what you're doing. And as long as you stay focused with that addiction and focused on the drive that you have for your business, I think that will, in the long run, provide better solutions, and more prosperity, when a lot of times without that drive, you just wouldn't get there. I woke up this morning, and in the morning I get up at no later than 4, sometimes earlier, sometimes 2, 3 o'clock. It just depends on the day. And I leave my house at 4 and I go to the gym. I work out for about an hour and a half. I've noticed that by doing that, it kind of creates a motivation for me throughout the entire day. And it also, kind of an interesting aspect of this is you're surrounded by people that have that same drive, that are willing to get up at that time in the morning and go to the gym and work out. And there's a lot of deals that get put together in business at the gym. There's a lot of meeting people that are on the same path as you. There's a lot of camaraderie when you see the same people every day just grinding at the gym, and then they go and take a shower and get dressed and go about their day, and then they're hustling until evening time. And I think if you kind of study the people that have been successful in business, especially, a lot of them have those habits where they work out most days of the week. They have patterns, they have systems in place where every single day at the same time they do the same thing. And they're constantly auditing that, and they're constantly looking back at it to see what's working and what's not working. And then they're making adjustments. And when you're managing and tracking what you're doing and what your results are, it's a lot easier to see where you do need to make the adjustments to continue to get better. When you're just kind of going about your day and not tracking anything, you don't really know what's working and what's not working. There's a lot of times where I meet with business owners and I start asking them about their numbers and I start talking about their sales and their net profit and what product lines are doing the best. And they give me vague answers, but they don't really truly know. If we're talking about retail places, you're taking up floor space for products that aren't selling, but you don't know that because you're not tracking your numbers. That's a big problem. If you're in real estate and you're spending 80% of your time cold calling and it's not working, you need to do something different. But if you're not actually tracking these things and seeing what is working for you and what's not, you don't have the data to back up the decisions that you're making. So it just becomes a guess, or it becomes kind of a gut feeling as far as what you need to do. And, a lot of times those feelings are right. It's also a lot easier when you start getting into the kind of the micro side of things, the micro dynamics. Let's say you're doing 80% cold calling and you're a real estate agent, but the other 20% of the time when you're prospecting, that the 80% is working a little bit, but the other 20% you're doing 5 different things within that 20%. If you're tracking all of this, you might be able to identify that something you're doing for 4% of your time is actually creating 70% of your leads. So that means that you want to take that 4% and make that more like 50 or 60% of your time. You'll get to a maximum capacity with different things that you can only do so much of it before the leads start to go down. But I guess kind of the point is, if you're actively tracking and keeping an idea of the numbers and what is working and what is not working, it's going to help you make better decisions. It's always going to be data driven and not emotional driven. It's really hard to go out and go to businesses, talk to 50 businesses and be told no on 48 of them. So emotionally, that's kind of hard to handle. But if I look at the numbers and the 2 that say yes are creating 80% of my revenue, I know that is a success. Compared to cold calling, maybe I get 2 out of 50 say yes, but it's only creating 5% of the revenue because I just don't have the connection with the people that I need to be able to get them to sign up for larger packages, and I'm not able to show them the value over the phone. So that's where getting out in person kind of skew things a little bit. I guess kind of the whole point of this was mostly to talk about the addictive personality and the ability to stay driven. And I've noticed that, if I fall into a pattern where I'm surrounding myself with people that are not really driven, it kind of pulls some motivation away from me. But then if I find myself surrounded by people that are very driven, I find more motivation, kind of feed off each other. I think that's just human nature. And that doesn't mean like the people that you're hanging around that aren't motivated, you got to get rid of them. That just might mean that you need to introduce more people into your circle that are motivated and do have that drive and do have that desire to better themselves in whatever you're trying to better yourself in. It doesn't have to be business, doesn't have to be money, financial, none of that. It can be religion. If you want to be more driven in religion, surround yourself by by people that align with those values better, more politics, whatever you want to be driven in, just surrounding yourself with that environment will end up helping to keep your focus and keep your motivation. And I think it'll actually kind of offset for the people that don't naturally have the ability to become addicted to whatever they're driven about, whatever they're trying to develop. If you don't have that natural addiction, I think by surrounding yourself with people that do have that natural addiction, it will kind of help to develop a little bit of that. But again, I go back to, I think that is something that is either ingrained in you from, either genetics or, growing up at an early age by things you're around. Part of me thinks that addiction is caused by, trauma responses, but I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't understand the nuances of all that, but I kind of feel like the people that I know that are addicted to business, are addicted to money, or addicted to team roping, addicted to different things that are highly driven. In their past, they had some challenges, when they were growing up, things like that. And it kind of just seems like something that's common. So I think if you develop the the patterns and the processes to help you stay focused. It's going to, and if you're using the data that you're collecting from everything that you're doing, it's going to help you continue on the path to where you're trying to get to. I think from all the people I talk to about all of this, it seems like the people that enjoy the process, they seem to get along a lot better than the people that are focused on the end result. You know, if you're focused on the end result and you're just really focused on getting there as fast as you can, I think it makes the process a lot harder. And I think that the people that can really like be driven every day and just wake up and motivated and really truly enjoy it, I think that helps them to get a lot farther along than the people that just kind of focus on the end result. I hope that makes sense. So I just kind of wanted to share those thoughts today. I was driving to the gym this morning thinking about, I was actually listening to a podcast from one of the people I listen to a lot. And I just kind of popped in my head that the common theme about a lot of these people having the past, addiction things that I talked about, it kind of got me really just thinking about how that's really common among everyone, and used properly, I think it can help people to be really successful. So I hope this adds a little bit, of value to you.